Okay, so welcome back. Celebrating truth, love, and beauty. Yeah, we're back with another one. Um, what I like to say is, you like to say a lot, don't you, Matt? I'll tell you what. This may be sort of funny, but I actually was afraid of talking for the longest time. Um, I was sort of a guy who. Hold on. Do I have the book in here, actually? Oh, yeah. That's funny. I literally bought this book, Conversationally Speaking, because I didn't know how to talk to people. Um, Look, chapter 6, starting conversations. It's like, wow, that's the lamest thing you've ever heard, right? It's like, I actually looked on Amazon, like, book about how you can talk to people. Like, I didn't know how to talk to people. It turns out that what made it a lot easier was becoming interested in the truth. Because, as I say in a certain song, like, nothing bores quite as bad as polite. Nothing interests and excites quite like the truth or something, and nothing bores quite as bad as polite. Something like that. And then I said, I'll fade into the plaster like a silent film actor, etc. Basically, it's like, what fucking CD is that, Matt? That's from Brand Business. Totally produced by me. Not a sound on there, I think, that came from anybody else's, like, production work. I used Fruity Loops, I think, to make it. Mainly, but yeah, all my beats, all my, raps, all my lyrics, whatever. I put it together. Okay, but hold on. Yeah, I think once I realized, like, I was, concerned about being honest. If you're an honest person, you generally don't have a problem talking to people, because it's never about, oh, what do I say? It's like, what do I say? Well, if I'm going to say something, I'm going to say what's true, and if I'm not going to say something that's not true. So what do you say is a meaningless question. It's like, well, you can say many things. You don't have to say. It's like, what do I say? Now, ask yourself, what does that even mean? What do I say? Basically, it's what do I say in order to what? That's sort of a manipulator question. What do I say? Like, oh, what do I say when I talk to people? What do you mean? What, do you want to have a certain outcome or something? It's like, all right, great, fine. If you do, okay, but, be real about what you're asking. What do I say? Well, what do you say in order to what? Like, oh, what do I say to a girl? What do you say in a girl in order to have her sexually interested in you? It's like, I'm not saying that's a good thing. In fact, you might be looking to use her sexually, and you want to cover it up, and what do I say? It's like, no. If you're more concerned about the truth, everything becomes a lot easier. That doesn't mean that you get a lot of successes in a relative sense, but things become way easier. And so it's like, Matt, you like... you can certainly rattle on for a while. It's like, you know what? I can rattle on for a while, maybe like conservative talk show hosts can rattle on for a while, but not a lot of Libby talk show hosts, if there are even such things, would do so or could do so. You know why? They talk in shorter bursts, because the conservative has the leeway to speak honestly about things. Whether he knows it's all a facade or not, he has the leeway to speak honestly about things. A liberal, because they're not working based on the truth, and because they're not working based on, like, well, what's actually true, it's more like constantly referring to what am I supposed to say, what is the right answer in this case or that case. Because it's not about what's actually true, they're likely to fuck up their own messaging if they speak freely and they speak for a while. No such problems on the conservative side, or at least fewer. And you know why? I think literally the format shows you. It's like, because these people, they're just fucking talking. It's like, well, yeah, what? They're just blathering? It's like, yeah, they're just blathering, and they'll just keep going. You know why? Because they're not worried about what they're going to say, because they're speaking in some way more honestly anyway. I'm not saying the conservative talk show hosts aren't planted as well, but at least they have the leeway for things to line up enough for them to talk about it for a long period of time, rather than, oh, we got to check our notes. Oh, we said something for 30 seconds. That's exactly what the messaging was. We have to check our notes to see what the rest of the messaging is. That's the left. It's all an evil system, but they are like the lies part of it. Like, they are the total lies part of it. Oh, fuck. And that's why you don't hear them talking, or even if you talk to them, you don't hear them fucking talking for more than fucking 2 minutes before they get mad and end the conversation, because they have nothing to say, because their shit is based on lies. And, you know, there are a lot of, like, I'm not saying the government's good, and I'm not saying the conservatives are representing ultimately goodness, but they're definitely representing less of the lies, to the point where they can continue to talk, and they're fine. Synthetic Man gets up there, he talks for hours and hours. It's like, well, there are left-wing streamers. Yeah, there are left-wing streamers. They talk about politics for fucking a lot of their fucking thing. They might be, but I bet you they're not. I bet you, if they're talking about it freely, I bet you they're tripping up. If they're talking about it without wondering, what am I supposed to say, they're tripping up. You know what the question, what am I supposed to say, means? It means, it's not about what's true or not, it's about taking your orders from somebody else. It's looking to an external source for what am I supposed to say. It's like, well, they want to be accurate. If they want to be accurate, they'd look up a fact maybe, but it's like, no, what is the position that I'm supposed to have? It's like, well, they want to be morally accurate, and someone else came up with the right moral position. All right, well, if you're truly on the same wavelength with it, then you should be able to speak you should be able to speak based on whatever that position is, and it shouldn't be difficult to stay with that, unless you're artificially trying to keep various things in mind because you're worried about dropping them, because these things aren't your baseline. You could throw them out and never think about them again, except some sense of, these are the things I'm supposed to be saying. It's funny. So yeah, but if you have problems talking to people, be honest. Period. Be honest. Period. Be space honest, period, with the capital B and the capital H. Your problems talking to people will fade away like dust in the wind, okay? Yeah, look at this fucking game. This game. Whatever Kino is, that's this. I don't know. Who's that? Is that a girl? Ooh, oh fuck, we got a new gun, baby. Oh shit. Okay. I don't want to overuse that gun. Let's go back to something more conservative. Oh, where was the voice? Maybe that was a fake soundtrack. Maybe that was a false signal. What did I say in the other one? There's something in the way of things. Things work on truth, but there's something that jammed up the gears. And it still works on truth, but it's fucking in there, and it's contributing to a lot of bullshit. Whoa! Wow, this is a gantlet. Don't you mean gauntlet? No, I mean gantlet. Check it out. Okay. Well, at least we got our minigun. Is this a... Oh, that was... I've been here. Alright, what's over here? Oh, shit. Yes, I heard the other thing. Yes, I heard the other thing on the other side. By the way, how fucking sophisticated are video games? Yes, I heard that guy behind me. That's crazy, man. This is cool shit. This is from the mid-2000s. Call Lyft. Call it. It don't mean anything, call it. No, I'm not gonna call it. I love that fucking... Oh, you know what? I think I got here last time, and I think I ended up jumping down. And I think that's what turned me around. Oh. Did I get here before? Shit, okay, great. Well, we got to a save point. Alright. Lower lift. Oh, okay. Oh, I can jump down there. I didn't save last time, I guess. I don't know. Or I'm in a similar room. A room that looks similar anyway. Hold on. Hold on, I'm getting the spiritual attacks. Hold on. When you start to feel yourself being like, oh shit, I gotta say this one word, or it's like, yeah, maybe you're getting some inspiration, or maybe it has to do with that little horrible sound that you just heard bringing some negativity around. Maybe that's what it is. It's like, Matt, you seem brutal. I am fucking brutal. You know why? Because I'm a brutal fucking soldier for truth. It's like, oh, soldier, there you go. Soul dyer. You're using some violent language there, Matt. What are you talking about? No, I'm not. I don't mean like violently, like physically violently a brutal soldier for truth. But I am a fucking brutal soldier for truth. Or, well, I don't know if I want to put it that way. But basically, like, yeah. Oh, Matt, you sound real. Oh, yeah. You should have said, oh, if you said that word in that, you know, I am. Yeah, I am. I've been through the fucking ringer, man. I am fucking, yeah. You know, maybe it's nicer to be nice to people sometimes. If you've been nice to someone for a long time and you've told them, you've pointed out the truth in various regards, and they just continue to believe lies, and they continue to be mean to you and try to drag you down and try to fuck you up when you're trying to do whatever you're doing, whatever. Like, if they've revealed themselves as operating on lies, like Jesse Lee Peterson says, you know, go along with your father, the devil, as opposed to your father, Christ, Jesus, or whatever, you know. There you go. That was me fucking, Matt, is it ever worth... That's a good question. Is it ever worth it to follow your... Well, intuitions, I suppose. I guess that's good. Is it ever worth it to follow your intuitions? It's like, well, of course it's worth it, Matt, right? You would say it's worth it. Is it ever worth it to follow your intuitions? Is it ever worth it to follow your intuitions? All right. That's good enough. Okay. Is it ever worth it to follow your intuitions? That's a good question to ask. You know why? Because I'll tell you what, my intuitions a lot of the time end up seeming like the voice in the head. In fact, that's funny. You know, I mean, here's the thing. I think the last video we recorded here actually turned out great. I put it on YouTube, and I said, whatever it's called, but it's on YouTube, and I think that's like the encapsulation video of everything, maybe, or a lot, or whatever. But oh, Matt, you said lot, or see, that's something trying to stop me. It's like, well, wouldn't it be cleaner to stop this? Wouldn't it be cleaner? Yes. And then also it's like, well, Matt, what goal are you doing by streaming? Like, what are you actually accomplishing by doing this? So maybe if you're getting a sense of like, stop this, maybe it's just because this video isn't going to do much for you anyway, but we're telling you to stop because you're about to walk off into a thing. It's like, all right, maybe. But here's the thing. I started to say, if you let go enough, you will essentially, like, if you let go, you can even let go past listening to like the intuition, or perhaps it's more like the Eckhart Tolle voice in the head type of thing. And it's like, I don't want to move into the realm of like, I don't care about anything, I don't care about the truth anymore, and I'm a psychopath. And that may be where the letting go leads. Or I don't want to say that's where the letting go leads, but if you follow let go, because I think if you follow let go, you're always letting go to the truth. You're always letting go back to the truth. Anything pasted onto the truth is extraneous to the truth. So if you care about the truth, letting go will bring you back there all the time, right? On some level, right? Unless you're letting go to more falsity, but then you let go of that, right? So hold on. So it's like, is it ever worth it to follow the intuitive voice? It's like, Matt, what results have you gotten? Well, I've gotten good results. I think I've gotten a shitload of good results. I think the fact that I've arrived at let go, that's like the best result of all time. So following my intuition, it actually has been like really good. And that looks like an underline, but that's actually on the paper. It's just let go with no underline, with the period, as it seems here. But, you know, letting go is the way, but do you want to follow your intuition? Like, is that ever reasonable? And then, as I was sort of talking about before, is that in some way based on some, like, information that went in or some directives that went in that you might not want to follow? Because clearly I'm pushing against the idea of, like, oh, you know, you said this word, oh, now you got to stop streaming. And it's like, what word was it? Well, it doesn't matter, like, it's like, it's not like a slur. I'm saying, like, you know, you said the words in a certain sequence. Now it's like, if you do that, you got to stop. You know, it's like, what, are you fucking crazy, Matt? It's like, no, what I'm saying is, if you follow your intuition enough, it'll lead you to really good outcomes, but then it will also potentially it becomes like a slave master to the point where like you'll be standing in a room and it'll be like, okay, I got to leave right now, or like, okay, you got to get that book and bring that book in here. It's like, well, how did you feel about that, Matt? Guess what? This book, that's what I fucking brought in here. Maybe it fucking worked out well because it was literally right behind me when I thought of it, right? So it's like the intuition, you can see how it ends up working in ways that you wouldn't expect. However, if you are to live your whole life like that, then the question is, what's the reason of living? Because then the question is, basically, like, what is the purpose of all this? Is it like Morpheus? And it might be very similar to this. I was watching this movie recently and thinking, wow, this feels. Hold on, I want to get some background sound on here. Where's the other guy? Did he die? Wow. Okay. You watch The Matrix, and it's like, you know, at the beginning of that movie, I was watching it anyway, it's like Morpheus is leading Neo around like a dog on a leash. Morpheus is like, go that way, go that way, go that way, go the thing across from you is empty, go to it. Well, when you follow your intuition, you often find it's like, oh, does Morpheus represent your intuition? Perhaps, or it might be somewhat similar. But in any case, when you follow your intuition, you may find. Hold on. You may find that that things go well, and that actually, like, it's like, oh yeah, wow, I'm glad I went there. I don't know, something told me to go there, and I did, and that was the perfect place to be. And it's like, well, what's perfect? Perfect is they're looking for you, and that's an empty cubicle. Like, or in this case, you might say, like, the effect that you might then refer to as that is they are looking for you, and that's an empty cubicle that you just went into, so you got away from it. Basically, like a situationally advantageous thing, maybe. It's like, but ultimately, if your whole life is like the first scene in The Matrix, then either you're not following Morpheus enough to totally get out of there, or your whole life is like essentially you listening to a cell phone and you not knowing ultimately where you're going, but just following all these little commands that turn out to be good and turn out to lead you to good places, but you're still a fucking dog on a leash, and you're still like literally 8-9 years later, you're like, all right, what's the next thing to do? And it's still frenzied, and it's still like, all right, I went to do it, and it's like, oh, you fucked up, or oh, you did good. And it's like, when do I get to the end of this? When do I get to the point where I don't feel like this is a fucking, that this is a life or death situation, or life or death, whatever. When do I get to the point where I don't feel like this is a severe situation, and like, and if I don't follow one of these, I get fucked forever or something? It's like, because then basically that's the way you're living your life. Because then ultimately it's like you're living your life in the scary energy, the frenzied, frenetic energy of that Matrix scene at the beginning, where it's like, oh shit, you know, I gotta get out of here, and you're just waiting for your next intuitive message. And, you know, and I'm still facing the spiritual attacks. But here's the thing, where are those spiritual attacks coming from? It's not coming from a person who's honest. It's not coming from a person who's honest. As you would suspect it might, it's coming from a person who actually lies all the time and is very dishonest. And oh, surprise, surprise, they come around and suddenly you feel awful when they're around. Yeah, that's, it all makes sense. Now here's the thing though, I'm feeling a little like, hold on. It's like, well, shouldn't you have stopped, Matt? Are you feeling better now than you would have been if you'd stopped the stream and you're just sitting there, the stream or not? Maybe not. But ultimately, at the end of the day, then, it's like, when does it get to the point where it's not dire? When does it get to the point where I'm not waiting frantically for the next fucking thing because I've got Agent Smiths running around? Like, when do I get the fuck out of here, man? Because if I'm still in a situation, or even physically, literally in a place where I'm following directions to get out of there, how long do I have to do it before I get out of there? Or am I the fucking fool and everyone around me is also acting horribly, or is acting horribly, but I'm being led in circles by a voice that seems, not a voice, like quote unquote, but by a sense that seems to work out perfectly, when I follow it, but also is basically just like an endless string of little instructions where you don't see where you're going, but you're just like, it's because they're not explaining it to you. They're just saying, do this, do that, and you don't see where it's going to pan out, and you just keep following it and following it and following it and following it for years, and things don't really get better. They don't really get better in terms of you're still like surrounded by all this horrible negativity, and you still feel attacked, and you still feel like and like no, and you feel like basically you could let go. You feel like basically you could let go of everything, and you'd still be open to all these fucking attacks from everybody. And then it's like, well, then this feels like it's never gonna end. Hold on. So then it becomes, do you let go to the point where you also let go of worrying about what that intuitive voice told you to do? Because at this point, it's like, I haven't gotten out yet, man. And at a certain point, maybe I turn around and say, maybe that voice is in some way keeping me on a treadmill. But I don't, here's the thing, that, because then is that not blasphemy of the whole, like, could that not be seen as blasphemy of the Holy Spirit, the only unforgivable sin? And is that not how everyone else fell off the fucking bike or something, and they turn into these fucking liars and shit? And it's like, well, maybe, except A, they're not letting go, and then B, they're not following the two rules that I at least would have, which is be honest and be good, because they are not honest. They do not live their lives honestly, and they certainly do not live their lives goodly. And so it's like, well, maybe this is the thing you should carry around to make sure you're always on that track. It's like, yeah, but this thing doesn't feel quite as it doesn't. I think let go is actually the main thing. I think let go folds it all. Let go has it all. You're always letting go back to the truth. You're always letting go back to the truth. It's tough to be a person who likes lies. It's like, oh, nobody likes lies, Matt. Oh, they know they're running on lies. If you've told somebody again and again, this is wrong about what you watch, this is wrong about what you watch, this doesn't logically line up, and they'd rather listen to the person with the nicer voice and shit on the TV, or who looks better and who is not a pariah like their fucking son is, it's like, if you tell them for years, like, this is wrong, that's wrong, and they just keep going along with it, I guess they do like the lies, or they're not particularly concerned about the truth. But if they kept letting go, that would be really inconvenient for the lies, because they'd be letting go of lies, and then they'd be constantly hit with, this doesn't go with what seems to match up for me, because I've let go of those lies. And so it's like, so I think letting go still will get you back to where you want to be. But so if you let go of like worrying, maybe if you let go of like, okay, like the sense that I must follow the intuitive nudging or whatever, then maybe that's like the final letting go. See, that might be the final blasphemy and the unforgivable sin. Although in Mad Men, interestingly, I'm not saying Mad Men is a Christian show, but it refers to Christianity in some sort of striking ways. Jesus will be named in ways sort of like Kingdom Come Deliverance, where you don't hear that a lot in the culture. But in Mad Men you do. But in Mad Men they say a preacher says, who's being thrown out of a whorehouse, by the way. I don't know why he was there. He might have actually been trying to advocate for like, stop doing this. But he says the only unpardonable sin, he says pardonable. The only unpardonable sin is believing that you cannot be forgiven, or something like that. Which, as long as you believe you cannot be forgiven, then you believe you are contaminated, then you believe that you are on a bad path, then you are locked into a bad path, right? Then that while that is the case, then it is unpardonable, because if you don't, essentially you might say, if you don't forgive yourself first, or if you don't believe that you can be forgiven, etc., then all right, then you're putting up a wall to forgiveness, and then it's like, well, if you're putting up a wall to forgiveness, then, or to pardon, then you are not going to be pardoned because you put up a wall to it. Or at least you don't think you're going to be pardoned, and thus you'll operate your life as if you weren't. I don't know. Anyway, what I'm saying is, I'm not sure. Maybe the ultimate realization is, and then it gets to like the Eckhart Tolle thing with the voice in the head. Maybe the ultimate realization is, and Adyashanti also said, like, you know, at one point in his little like jokey way, Adyashanti's a fucking badass. In his little jokey sort of like cutting way, he's like, yeah, you know, people are led around like a dog on a leash. Like, and it's like, well, what are they led around by? Maybe they're led around by the sense of like, and here's the thing, because he talks about the difference between conscience and the ego, or the difference between this and that. Maybe they're led around by the ego. And so I don't want to fucking go into territory of saying like, oh, don't follow your intuition, because I don't see people follow. I don't know if I see anybody following their intuition, just like I don't see any honest people around me, right? And so I don't want to be like them. I want to stay on the right track, and it's good to look at them and say, well, what are they doing that I don't want to do, right? And so it doesn't seem like they're following their intuition at all. And in fact, when I follow my intuition, I may end up looking kind of erratic or something to them. So it's like, well, clearly, Matt, following their intuition is something that they're not doing. But is it possible that I become a slave to following some kind of endless series of commands that I'm not quite sure like where the ultimate outcome is, where my life doesn't seem to have changed, at least in any way that it means that I'm not just constantly like surrounded by people that I feel sort of in danger from. But if you keep letting go, if you let go of everything, then you'll also at least let go of any like sense of like attachment to like, oh fuck, I didn't follow the intuitive nudge there. And so, okay, does that leave you fucking spinning around on frictionless ice? Or does it leave you free to then walk directly out of the room that you're in that you don't want to be in? Or walk directly towards what you would like. But then if you're walking directly towards what you would like, are you ignoring truth and are you ignoring goodness to get there? And do you become a psychopath like the Illuminati is? I don't know. That's a good question, man. Okay, hold on. All right, let's fucking play the game. Now here's where you get into your Tony Robbins state changers. But really, let go. Let go is the way. Oh, fuck. Are you kidding me, dude? Oh, okay. I got lucky there, man. Yeah, there we go. Oh. Come on. Darn it. Did that work out the way you wanted based on your letting go or not letting go? Or following intuition or not following intuition? Or is that the voice in the head or not? Are you a dog? Are you hooked like a fish? Are you following the voice of Morpheus? I don't know, man. And then I get fucking stopped in the middle of all that by a little disgusting little sound coming from, coming from lies. It's like, what are you fucking talking about, Matt? If you don't have any reference for what I'm talking about, then clearly you haven't been on the journey I've been on. I think if I told Adyashanti about it, he'd probably have a lot to talk with me about on that level. If I told Eckhart Tolle about it, he'd probably have a lot to talk with me about on that level. In fact, I'd like to ask one of them. I'd be like, hey guys, like, I don't know if you guys are totally, the type, I don't know if you guys are exactly where I'd like to be. I don't know if you guys represent this, that, or the other thing. Eckhart, you referenced Zbigniew Brzezinski in your first book. Still going to bring that up. But what is the difference between following intuition and following the voice in the head? And is there any difference? Or is it always just, if you're following, because again, Adyashanti talks about like conscience, or he talks about like the still small voice, and he seems to present that as a good thing to follow. But the way, at least perhaps because I'm not following it well, but the way it seems to operate in my life, it just basically seems like it leaves me basically acting totally robotically all the time, or feeling like I'm going against like divine inner guidance. And it's like, well, couldn't you have guidance and sort of like move around in this way or that? It's like, maybe I could, but the frequency at which the guidance seems to basically say stop what you're doing when I had an idea or I had some sense that I was going to keep doing something, it's basically like, it seems like almost every probably like 18 times a day the guidance gets in the way of what I'm doing. And you might say, well, you're not acting in accordance with the guidance if that is the case. But it's like, all right, well, if I'm literally like washing a fucking dish or something, or I'm going here or not, it basically, it starts to feel more like the leash that's pulling me around, because it feels more like just someone saying, stop, stop, stop. You know what it actually feels like? It actually fucking feels like the fucking Agent Smith kind of this is what it really feels like. The Agent Smith kind, or maybe that's just the bad version of it. But this is what or the shadow version of it. The devil doing the thing that God might do, in so many words. But it actually feels like the same shit of I'm doing something, and then somebody who believes in lies, and somebody who's full of negative shit, and somebody who just wants to tear me down all the time comes in and says, stop, 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 stop. That's what it fucking feels like. And it's like, well, Matt, what, you're afraid to turn out like them? Maybe they have left their intuitive voice a long time ago, and so, that's why they turn into that. It's like, yeah, but again, I return you to, they are not letting go. Because if they were letting go, they'd be letting go to the truth, and they are holding on to a lot of lies. Whereas if I keep letting go, I'll be fine. Or at least I'll keep coming back to the truth. But I could probably fuck things up by going against the intuition if that's actually sage advice. But it's like, basically, here's the thing. Do I want to be a robot or not? Like, ultimately, what's the point? Here's the real question we get down to. What's the point of being alive at all? If you're going to be a robot, if your whole life is beholden to the intuitive voice, what's the point of being alive at all? Because you're going through a series of motions that ultimately you're not sure. And it's like, okay, well, you're trying to get out of a bad situation, like No Country for Old Men. I don't want to get into a jackpot here. You're already in a jackpot. I'm trying to get you out of it. Maybe it's someone like Llewellyn Moss, who, by the way, got into that cab. Okay, so he got him into the jackpot. The guy, in any case, Llewellyn Moss or Morpheus trying to get you out of a jackpot, or Jesus, because that's very similar. Like Morpheus leading Neo around, that sounds like Jesus trying to get you. I'm not saying it is, but it seems similar to like Jesus trying to save you from the evil world that you've fallen into. It's like you're already in a jackpot. But if your entire life is paying attention to Llewellyn Moss or Morpheus, or even the voice of Jesus saying, do this, do that, do this, do that, do this. And I'm not trying to blaspheme against Jesus or even criticize Morpheus or Llewellyn Moss in this sense. But what I'm saying is, if your entire life for years and years is, oh my God, it's an emergency situation, and do this, do that, do this, do that, you don't want to turn out like the other people do you. It's like, at a certain point, I get out of here, or I just feel like I'm following instructions that are disconnected to any sense of like, a journey that I'm on, any sense of like a path that I feel like, okay, I kind of, basically it feels like I'm not participating anymore. It feels like, why don't you operate my body, and why don't you do it, intuitive voice? Because if you're just going to be telling me things that seem disconnected from anything, like me streaming, interestingly enough, you can go back and watch it on YouTube, but me streaming with like some of the Red Dead Redemption streams, and I had a viewer who seemed like a nice guy, cool guy, but he'd tell me to do that, do this, do that, and he'd tell me that without giving me a sense of like, necessarily anyway, what I'm looking to do ultimately. So I'm always just waiting for his next instruction, and to the point where I'd literally be waiting around, and I'd be like, all right, I'm here, and then I'd literally be waiting for him to do something. And I'm not trying to criticize him here, but I'm saying it's interesting, because I'd literally be standing there waiting. It's like, all right, I'm just waiting for the next intuitive nudge, or I'm waiting for the next nudge from him. And like, ultimately that seems to be what's kept me situationally where I am. And it's like, is that, maybe that's the voice of the fucking devil ultimately. It's like, you've been following your intuition, Matt. But the thing is, it's come out to me caring more about the truth than ever. It's come out to me producing things like videos or whatever that I think are actually really, really good. I think even fucking Legacy works. It's come out to a lot of really positive things that just maybe they haven't turned out well because it's in a world mired in evil and darkness. And so, of course, if you produce something really intellectual or like really good, of course course not a lot of people are gonna like it, because a lot of people are fucking lowest common denominator. It's like you're fucking Shakespeare in fucking Mexico, and nobody speaks English, and you don't speak Spanish, and it's like, well, I'm saying a lot of great shit, but everyone around me is just like, oh, that fucking gringo. It's like, and yes, yeah, that fucking gringo, right? Oh, it's just totally accepted to call white people gringos. Oh, yeah, that's a whole other fucking thing. But yeah, oh, that fucking gringo, that piece of shit, that fucking Shakespeare speaking a bunch of shit we don't understand. It's like, well, yeah, because you're performing for an audience that hates you, you know, or at least an audience that literally doesn't understand. Hold on. And so the point is following the intuitive nudging a good thing or a bad thing? Like, or ultimately, do I get to the point where I stop following it, or do I remain robotic and do I continue participating in something where I'm waiting for the next thing and hopefully someday I fucking die, right? Like, literally, hopefully someday this ends and I can get to the point where I'm not waiting for the next instruction that gets me out of this dire situation. Because, like, guess what? In The Matrix, Neo wasn't listening on a fucking cell phone the entire movie or the entire series of movies with some vague instructions that turned out well for Morpheus. They turned out well and they were right, but nevertheless instructions that seemed disconnected from anything that he could then take himself and go the distance with. No, he was always waiting for the next thing. Was that the entire movie series? No, it wasn't the entire movie series. That was a small part of it. So if I feel like I've been living my life waiting for that next instruction for fucking years, which literally it has been, then it seems like either I'm not doing it well, or it seems like that's not something that's actually, like, that's not actually true. Like, hold on. Yeah, I had somebody try to hijack me right there. Hold on. And I'm not going to be bashful about it. Yes, I had someone, intentionally or otherwise, someone come in at the exact perfect time to try to hijack me right there. So, or was that a warning, Matt? You know what? No, then it gets back into the intuitive nudging thing. It's like, is the hijacking not the same as the intuitive nudging ultimately? Because it's like, ultimately, do you fucking am I just gonna continue in this fucking cycle forever? And it's because I'm afraid of turning out like the horrible people around me who don't follow their intuition, or is the problem that I've been waiting for this shit rather than just saying, you know what, no, I'm gonna let go of following that and I'm gonna do what I think, what seems to me to be the right thing to do, not based on hedonism and not based on following the shitty lies of the culture, but based on letting go and based on saying, no, I'm letting go of all the falsity and I'm gonna move forward in a certain way. And I feel like that, you know what? That really fucking fucked with me. I feel like I was heading towards potentially a life-changing answer, and that fucking sound came in to fuck with. Yep, let's let go. Let's see if we can get. Okay. Oh my goodness. Wow. All right, hold on. It's like, well, yeah, Matt, you want to have fucking clarity. Or clarity would be nice to have. I don't know. Or whatever. But here's the thing. Does that still small voice, if it is a still small voice, and by the way, who talks about the still small voice? Adyashanti, who believes the lies of the media. Or seems to. Eckhart Tolle, the voice in the... Well, Eckhart Tolle talks about the voice in the head. And, Eckhart Tolle actually... I will say, Eckhart seems less... If we were to judge them... Like, who's more of an NPC, who's less of an NPC. Like, I think Adyashanti's awesome. I don't want to badmouth. I think Adyashanti's fucking hilarious. I think I'd like him as a person. I think he says a lot of good shit. But if we're talking about, like, culturally, who seems like more or less of an NPC, Adyashanti, from what I've seen, seems like he believes more of the mainstream stuff than Eckhart Tolle does. In fact, Eckhart Tolle seems more like, you know, he seems like if you gave him like a whole spiel from the news, quote, so-called news, northeast south, northeast west south, right? It seems like Eckhart Tolle, if you gave him a whole spiel from the news or something, he'd probably like kind of laugh at you, or he'd probably like have a little smile. If you gave Adyashanti a whole spiel from the news, he might be like, yeah, well, you know, that's the way it is, right? It's like, and who's living in California versus who's living in some fucking forest in Vancouver. Not to say, you know, Adyashanti, I think he lives on a fucking mountain now, so I'm not saying he, you know, all California is exactly the same, but okay, hold on. But if you become a slave to the inner nudging, you better, I don't know, you better be sure that that nudging is leading you somewhere well. And if or leading you somewhere good. And if that nudging continues to seem to result in just nothing good happening, then you might want to say, am I going to let go of following this nudging? And am I going to totally take the reins? Totally take the reins. And it's like, oh no, like, you know, if I take the reins, then I might turn into one of these hedonists who doesn't give a shit, because then I'll take the reins and suddenly my master will not be truth. You know, have one master, hate the other. Have two masters, you know, love one, hate the other. Then my master will not be the truth, and my master will be just me and whatever I want to do, and then I'll turn out like the fucking pieces of shit around me. Or is that the fucking fear? Is that the fucking fear that keeps you a slave? And actually, all these fucking slaves around you, the part of the reason why they're bad people is because they haven't fucking taken the reins, and any one actual person who does take the reins will be behaving well. I don't know. Because at the beginning of Utilitarianism by John Stuart Mill, I think he says something like, now I'm not saying, because I was suspecting this, and then he's like, near the beginning, he's like, something like, I'm not saying that everyone is just, you know, left to their own devices. Everyone would always do the good thing. And like, it's, you know, basically like doing what you want is always going to turn out well. Except, I'm not sure that John Stuart Mill isn't fucking up there. I don't know. I think ultimately it might be doing what you want is doing. Like, then it gets like, what? Are you Aleister Crowley, Matt? Oh, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. I don't want to put any bad, scary names to anything that, you know, and then say, well, that can't be true because bad, scary name was put with it. I mean, haven't you fucking been through that shit? If you're fucking watching this, like, haven't you been through that shit of realizing, oh, the media says this person is bad and scary, so you can't listen to them? Isn't that just the fucking way or a lot of the propaganda does work? So, like, oh, you know, Aleister Crowley said, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. That means that's bad. It's like, or is that just the ultimate deception to keep you away from taking the reins? Because once you do take the reins, you actually will be good, because maybe inherently you're good, or at least inherently, you know, you may not be bad. And if you're not bad inherently, then if you take the reins and you just go with where you're operating from without anything between it, well, then wouldn't you be following your intuition? Perhaps. All right, hold on. I would like to get back to playing this. If nothing else, because I'd like to fucking do a review on it. I love this game. And I'd like to make YouTube videos. I'd like to make a lot of money from my YouTube videos. I'd like to move away from where I currently am. And I'd like to actually, like, live a fucking good life, right? I'd like to live a good life where I'm not surrounded. I'm not going to say I'm not free. I argued in jail with a person, and I told them, I had a fierce argument with someone. I was like, no, you're free. You're as free here as you are anywhere else. And I get what I was saying there. You're free because you are free to act. You are free to do what you want. They may oppose you, but you're still free. You're as free now as you are anywhere else. You're free tied to a fucking table. You know why? Because you are free to act tied to a table. It's like, I'm not free to act. Oh, yes, you are. You're free to do whatever you can within the bounds that you're in. So, you know, don't, you know. That said, just because I'm free here doesn't mean that my life is like quote unquote good or the way I'd like it to be. And I'm not saying quote unquote good as in good or bad or totally made up necessarily. I'm saying, hold on. Okay. I'm saying good in terms of my life is I wake up and I wonder, am I going to eat a bagel today with butter on it, or am I going to eat some like a couple pieces of bread with peanut butter on it, and like I'm lucky if there's any other food around for me to eat. It's like, well, Matt, that sounds like decent enough food. That's what I've been eating for like 2 months. I've like, except for like little cases where like other food found its way to me. No, that's what I've been eating. I've been actually feeling like I was kind of starving. You know, you want to see someone fucking thin? Let's, you know, that's, you want to fucking see that shit? You know, that's fucking. Look, here you go. Fucking what? This? What's that, Matt? What is that actually? Wait, oh, this is this is the fucking. I'll show it to you. This is the string from the fucking pants. That's what that is. But you know, it's like I haven't. You know, I'd like to be thin. You know, I'd like to be thin. But you want to see. Oh, you're sucking in your stomach. Okay. You want to see those fucking ribs? You see this fucking. You know, I'm not eating a lot. All right, I'm not eating a lot. And it feels like, I thought to say trapped in a situation. It has felt like I've been trapped in a situation where I've been basically at the just total whim. I've been at the total whim of, hold on. I've been at the total whim of someone who, just like, as I've described it, hold on. I've been at the total whim of someone who is like, whatever they think about me, they're aligned totally against me. And to the point where, as I've talked about, they will like do things where I don't even think they could possibly know, you know, I'm feeling good right now, or like I'm doing something that I feel is important right now. And so they will operate in a way where, like, as Adyashanti talked about with the dogs that were like walking around his meditation hut when you try to meditate, they're operating in a way where it feels like they're trying to fuck with me. They're trying to get in my way without like me thinking they would even likely know that I was doing something, that then they were like continue, like every time I go, I try to read this page, I try to read this, I try to, it's like they're just like, just supernaturally, it's not like they're in the fucking room, but supernaturally, that's when they make a sound, that's when they do this, that's when the disruption, that's when this, it's like, it's like, that's the life that I don't like. That's the life, hold on. Happen again, man. Hold on. That's the life I don't like. I actually hate my life. Like, it's funny. It's like, well, Matt, you sound like, you'll criticize people, but it sounds like you'd probably, like, not want to get into the, you know, attracting negativity by speaking negatively, and, you know, like, this is now your mantra, this is the language you're using, this is, you know, the power of negative thinking, actually, rather than the power of positive thinking. It's like, you know what, on this front, I'll be a little more Mark Passio about it and be like, you know, I'm going to acknowledge something the way it is, just like I'm going to acknowledge that following the intuitive voice doesn't seem to have led me to a place where things are the way I like them. Things are the way I would like them to be. that place is not the way I'd like it to be. That is a fucking component of it. And so it's like, no, maybe I'll take the Mark Passio thing and say, I'm going to acknowledge the way it is. Just like I'm going to acknowledge maybe that the intuition or the intuitive voice hasn't led me very well, right? Because, or hasn't led me to a place I like, because this is the place it's led me to. And this sucks. I hate my life. Like, I want to be honest. I want to be fucking clear about it. I hate my life. My life is so bad that I've literally, it's like, oh, Matt, oh, your life is so bad. You're fucking streaming on Twitch. Doesn't matter what I'm fucking doing. You could be fucking president of the fucking world or whatever. By the way, if you're president, you're a leader of a violent organization. And you have either the divine right of kings or it is illegitimate for you to presume to control others, right? Because it's funny. It's like people like laugh at the divine right of kings, and then they're like, yeah, but the president has the right to tell us what to do, or the cops have the right to, hurt you. It's like, weren't you in history class laughing that kings thought they had the divine right to rule? And then you're going to look at some fucking asshole driving down the street with a gun, and you're going to say, well, that guy has the right to do that, but nobody else does? It's like, so is he a king or not? Does he have the divine right to do that or not? It's like, no, he has the right because we all decided to give him the right. I bet you there's at least one person who didn't want him to fucking have that right, quote unquote. It's like, does what they want morally or logically get taken away just because every other person on that street wanted that guy to roll around with that gun and nobody else gets to, and according to that guy's rules, or according to the rules that he's imposing and following with his fucking gun? It's like, well, therein lies the difference, Matt, because he's following the rules that we have all set up for ourselves in this democracy. It's like, man, all I'm saying is, if you're talking about kings are ridiculous for thinking that they literally have a God-given right to rule you, then it's hilarious to ever think any government or any mafia system, anything like that, any system of imposed force is anything other than that. It's fucking hilarious, man. It really is funny. You're fucking voting for a president. It's like, yeah, you're voting for a king who has the divine right to rule, because otherwise you don't give a shit about what right he has over others, or otherwise you think somehow he magically got the right to rule others, like, and he has that right now in some way, in a real way. Hold on. You think he magically got that from a bunch of other people saying he got that. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? And then even if you thought that, you really believe that the elections are themselves not tampered with in any way? And then beyond that, it's like, how many people are just straight up believing lies, even according to what you might say, and then are voting based on lies? It's like, there's so much fucking wrong with it, even if you don't go directly to it, which is, there's nothing that you can point to, as far as I know, that says this person has any more right over you than you have over them. I'll fucking say it right now. There's nothing that you can point to say the president of any country in the world has any more right over you than you have over him. Period. And when you put it that way, it's like, oh, that sounds dangerous or that sounds stark. I'm saying it because it's true. And I'm not saying it like, oh, you should go and act the way he does over you against him, because if you do, you will be fucked, right? I'm not saying that at all. I think that would be a terrible thing for you to do. Maybe not morally, but it'd be a terrible thing for you to do strategically. Terrible. Don't act like he does over you over him. Believe me. But don't even follow his fucking constitution to its letter, because believe me, you can send angry words to somebody and go to jail for it, right? So, but what I'm saying is, any president of any country, yes, any given person in anywhere in the world, they have no more right over you than you have over them. Them specifically. They specifically have no more right over you specifically than you specifically have over them specifically. And I'm saying put in any name of any politician. I hesitate to put in a name here because I think I might be fucking arrested for doing so, for presuming to say that they don't have the divine right to rule over you. It's like, they don't. Period. What? The fucking divine right? Are you kidding me? Jeez. Wow. Yeah. It's like, do you care more about truth or do you care more about something else? Hold on. Anyway, ultimately, to get down to it, I hate the situation I'm in, and I've gotten into this situation after a long time of following intuitive nudges. And those intuitive nudges seem to be, they seem to feel actually pretty similar to the little nudges I'll get of negativity or of like, I'll hear while I'm proverbially meditating, like Adyashanti in the hut with the dogs going around it. Or that they'd start circling around it when he started meditating, and he was like, it's like, when I start meditating, that's when they start fucking literally circling around where I'm fucking going, and it was bothering him. Like, it's like, the intuitive nudge doesn't seem that dissimilar from that kind of sounds from my environment. So...